Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
The Black and Gold Banneret Podcast is brought to you by the Sam Unger Real Estate Team, powered by eXp Realty, proudly serving Orange, Seminole, and Lake counties. Call 407-790-9957 or visit samsellsorlando.net. What's going on, Night fans? Happy New Year, happy holidays, and welcome to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. I'm Jeff Sharon, along with Eric Lopez, and wow, here we are. We're through Christmas, and it is bowl time, baby.
Yes, bowl time season, or whatever is left of it. Yes, hallelujah.
Well, we're recording this. All right, we're recording this a little bit late. It's the today is the 29th, because we are, or at least a bunch of us, are heading up to Atlanta for the bowl game, for the Peach Bowl between UCF and Auburn. And we are going to preview that here. We're going to break down the football bit. And then we are also going to have, for the UCF fan perspective, our guest on this podcast is Jimmy Skiles, the Associate AD of Fan Development for UCF, who's kind enough to kind of give us the lay of the land. If you're a UCF fan, you're heading up for the game on the 30th, the 31st, and the 1st bowl week up at the Chick-fil-a Peach Bowl between UCF and Auburn. So once again, don't forget you can follow us at blackandgoldbanneret.com, where you can get all your UCF Peach Bowl preview information. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/blackandgoldbanneret and on Twitter at UCF_Banneret. You can follow me at Jeff_Sharon. You can follow Eric at Eric Lopez Elo. You can follow Brian Murphy at Spokes_Murphy, where he will be in Atlanta throughout the week. Don't forget Derek Warden _DS Warden on Twitter, where he will have he'll be actually shooting photos of the game, which is great. I'm so glad that those guys are going to be doing that. And then obviously we'll be live blogging the game as well, with Brian captaining that from the Peach Bowl. As well. Subscribe to this podcast on Google Play, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. And without further ado, let us dive in, Eric Lopez. It is bowl week.
Hallelujah.
Here we are, right? We got one more weekend to go.
Thank God.
And,
thank God. Let's just move on. I feel like this game is just hanging in there. I mean, don't even get me started how it's ridiculous that we're waiting 3 to 4 weeks to play a game.
Well, here we are, like, complaining about that, right? When back in the day, like, if we played in a bowl game, it would be like one of the first bowl games there was. I remember the St. Pete Bowl that I covered in 2009 was like December 19th. Last year, the Cure Bowl was one of the first bowls that I think it was December 17th, wasn't it? So, we got that out of the way before Christmas, and so you're not going to hear me complain about.
It's not so much the UCF game; it's just the system in general. I mean, the bowl games have gotten. I mean, if we've seen anything so far through these games, is that these bowl games. There's too many of them. There's too many bowl games, and there's a lot of bad games. So, and there's not a lot of people going to these games. That's not the issue in Atlanta, but it's just kind of like it's funny to me, watching. I've been watching a lot of games. Like the FCS has had their playoff, Division II's had their playoff, Division III's had their playoff.
By the way, they have like a 2-week break between the semifinals and the championship game.
Right?
You notice that?
But yet somehow Division I can't figure that out.
Well, it's not that they can't; they just don't want to.
Okay, thank you. No, I mean, I just wish people would be more honest about that. Like, just tell me the truth. Don't give me this nonsense that you can't, I don't know, it's too much logistics. Or my favorite one is, that's too many games for the players. So wait, that's too many players for Division I guys, right, but not for Division II?
That's why that whole argument was dumb when they were arguing against having a playoff in Division I FBS. It was like, you don't want the FBS players to play more than 14 games in a season, but we're okay with 15, 16 for non-scholarship, right? Division II players and Division III and all that. We're fine with that. That's preposterous,
Correct. So, I mean, obviously, I'm only bringing it up because to be honest, I wish that UCF would rather be playing Georgia right now in a playoff game and maybe in Atlanta, maybe even.
Wouldn't we all? Well, no, I wouldn't want to play Georgia in Atlanta in a playoff game. Trust me on that.
But I mean, that might happen though, right? It's kind of like college.
Having covered Georgia in a bowl game in Atlanta, that's not the optimal situation if you're the other team.
No, but although I think you'll see a lot of Auburn fans in Atlanta. But look, I mean, that's
true.
That's the system that it is. And it brings up the point of, about this game and what's really at stake here. And obviously, I think for UCF, obviously, an undefeated season, a 13-0 record, I think is really at the priority at the list here as far as the importance of this game and what's at stake. I don't believe that the result of this game, one way or the other, changes the season. Do you? I don't think if they lose, it hurts the season. I don't think if they win, all of a sudden this season just became great. It's been a great year regardless.
Here's how I view it.
Yeah.
If UCF loses the game, it's kind of like the difference between, all right, so I got this delicious, giant, like Neapolitan ice cream sundae. All right? It's going to be delicious one way or the other. If we lose, it's kind of like I get the ice cream. It's like, it's great. It's great. It's delicious. It's ice cream. It's every ice cream that I want. It's, strawberry, chocolate, vanilla, swirl, the whole 9 yards. Winning the bowl game and finishing undefeated, 13-0, is like adding the chocolate chips and the whipped cream and the little maraschino cherry on top, right? That's what that is. It's like, okay, it's great. Oh, but this also, not only is it great, I get a little bit more chocolate and the whipped cream and everything, and it also looks delicious too, right? That's kind of the difference for me between if UCF finishes 12-1 and if Auburn or 13-0.
Yeah, no, I think there's some truth to that for sure. It's an interesting game because I feel like there's going to be two narratives that's going to come out of here when the game's done, and it's either going to be UCF won. And it's the best season ever. It's the best team ever. Yada yada.
Well, that narrative is going to be like also. Well, it's not going to. It's not just going to be that. It's going to be okay. UCF is now in that club of legit teams that are not in the Power Five. Like we have Boise State in there, right? We have Utah was in there before they moved into the Pac-12. TCU was in there before they moved into the Big 12. And now it's like there's like this little chalkboard somewhere that has like maybe 3, 4, 5 teams in that class, and now it's like, okay, UCF's in there too. All right, let's officially put them in permanent marker in that slot.
But then again, there'll be those that will say that Auburn just didn't care about the game. So,
mostly that's going to be your SEC fans and your Auburn fans, and to which.
Well, and I think so, which is a lot of national media, by the way. Right. Let's not act like that's
okay.
The narrative.
Fine. But if they don't show up, which by the way, I think I haven't checked Gus Malzahn's record in bowl games, but okay.
Well, they lost last pretty badly to Oklahoma.
If they don't show up, that's not UCF's fault, and I really don't care.
No, but I mean, that's the narrative. The narrative is going to be, well, they didn't show up, and that's why UCF won the game. It wasn't because they were necessarily better. On the other side of the ball, on the other side, if UCF loses, now people are going to say, well, Scott Frost and the coaching staff was distracted. The players were distracted with Scott Frost recruiting in Nebraska, which I also, so I mean, it's
the old D word, right?
It's just funny. I mean, it's funny. Like, the narrative's already there. It's just a matter of the execution. I think the game itself, Scott Frost said this, and I think it was in his last presser before going to Atlanta, but I think he's even said it again while he's in Atlanta. This game is really a simple game. It's going to come down to the line of scrimmage, and because this will be the best front talent-wise, either in the defensive line standpoint and offensive line standpoint, that UCF is going to see all year with Auburn. Auburn's a physical football team, and my concern, Jeff, is if you watched the Memphis game at times, the championship game I'm speaking of, UCF got manhandled a little bit at times there as far as the defensive line. Like Memphis kind of played physical with them at times. And now you got Auburn with their players, with their running backs, and Kerryon Johnson and that offensive line. I think Auburn can be very physical. And then also, can UCF put any pressure on Stidham at quarterback?
Right.
That's going to be some big issues I think the defensive side of the ball is going to have. And then on the other side of the ball, can Mackenzie Milton have time to throw? And can they open holes for the running game against that Auburn front, which is very, very difficult. So I think that's the interesting thing to look for in this football game, that, if we get down to the X's and O's, and that's really the question, right? The question that is always, to some extent, the narrative when it comes to non-Power 5 teams like UCF's and the Boise's when they get into these games is, can finesse football beat physical football? That's what this storyline is going to be. And UCF's got to prove that they're not going to get pushed around in this game.
This feels like the opposite of the Baylor Fiesta Bowl.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because Baylor basically played up. It was you're right. It's the opposite, because UCF was the one that was physical team against Baylor, and they kind of pushed around Baylor, especially when on Baylor's side of the defense of the ball. And it was Baylor that was going to go with the track meet, and UCF was going to try and create some stops and put some pressure. So it's interesting. You're right. That's a great point. How the roles have changed. Even though the funny thing was UCF was a bigger underdog in that game. They were like about an 18-point dog or whatever. Here they're only depending where you look at, what is it, 9, 10?
According to OddsShark, the latest line has UCF as a 9.5-point dog. It opened at 8, jumped up, and it actually depends on where you look. Some places have 9.5. Bovada has UCF as a 10-point dog.
Yeah, so about 8 to 10. So that's not that bad, and it tells you. I do think that tells you that people, I think, kind of expect UCF to be in this game. I think that's going to be a very fascinating football game from that standpoint. Is how does UCF and Scott? If Scott felt like, and when he said if they can block him, he likes his chances. It's and I know it sounds it's a very simple thing. It's not the most exciting quote, but I think sometimes we overcomplicate this stuff, and it's fairly simple. Can UCF block Auburn? Really simple. Yeah. Can they block them? Can they put some pressure? Can they beat some of their offensive linemen man to man and cause some havoc? If they can, they can win this football game. Yeah. If they can't, it's going to be a long day.
Some key numbers to throw at you. Auburn is 25th in the country in total offense. UCF now 5th. They're averaging the Tigers are averaging 454 yards a game. This is what I think is interesting. Balance. 228.2 yards per game on the ground, which is 22nd in the country, 225.8 through the air. So they actually do rush more than they pass, or rush for more than they pass. 68th in the country in passing offense are the Tigers, but 10th in pass efficiency as a team at 156.82. They're averaging 34 points a game, which is 25th best in the country. Compare that to UCF's defensive numbers. The Knights are 94th in total defense, but it's because the pass defense basically collapsed in the latter half of the year. The Knights are 110th in the country in pass defense, but 67th in rush defense, giving up 262.8.
You brought up the pass defense. That's a concern. Now, the thing about the bowl game, it's like a new season. You have a month to fix all that. But I mean, USF torched them passing wise. Memphis torched them. And again, I mean, Stidham is a talent. I mean, the kid can play. Auburn's got that's a concern because
very good SEC style quarterback, right? Fits that mold perfectly, I think.
I would agree, and I could make the argument he's probably the most talented quarterback in the SEC. I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, obviously, Shea Patterson at Ole Miss is good.
More than Jake Fromm at Georgia?
Yes, I do. Really? I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that Jake Fromm can throw the football if he's behind. I give the reason I think Georgia's success is that running game. I mean, Jake Fromm couldn't do anything when they fell behind against Auburn, which brings up the segue here. I think it's imperative that UCF, kind of like the Fiesta Bowl, gets off to a good start. I don't think, as good as this offense is, if you're down 2 touchdowns, early, quickly to Auburn, that thing could snowball, because I think Auburn's a very difficult team to come back from, because that opens up, now they can target the pass rush. They're a very good team from ahead from that standpoint.
Right.
Now, that being
punch
said,
it in the mouth right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate, show them that you're here, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, now before you know it, you're in the game. I do, and that's going to be the interesting question. Now, the counter side to that about Auburn, this is not a home game for Auburn. And if you look at Auburn, they have been a different team on the road this year than they are at home. Their big wins were all at home. Alabama was at home. Georgia was at home. You look at their losses. They lost at Clemson. They lost at LSU, where they blew a big lead in Baton Rouge. And they lost, obviously, in Atlanta in that same stadium to Georgia. So they are a little different on the road, which I think has to help UCF in that matter. And I think if UCF can get off to an early lead, get off to a good start, and all of a sudden, you see this sometimes in bowl games. First, teams tend to press if you fall behind early, and then games kind of get away from you, because all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, what are we doing? And next thing you know, you're down 21, 24 points, and everything kind of snowballs. So I think you'll know early on in the first 10, 15 minutes what kind of game you're going to have, if it's going to be an interesting day or is it going to be a long day. But I think those are some factors, and I do think the secondary has to be shored up, because I have to believe UCF's going to try and stop the Auburn running game, and I think you could be in trouble with the play action pass if you do that. So the secondary needs to be on the same page. If not, they're going to give up some big plays.
Yeah, it's the game I keep thinking. I always think of these in sort of historical fashions. Obviously, UCF in the Fiesta Bowl against Baylor, how they jumped out 14-0. You get the big drive that you punch 7 in, and that's the key. First drive of the game, you have to get 7. You punch in 7, then they got the 3-and-out with the sack, then they scored again. And UCF was up, I think, 14-0 in that game. And that put Baylor on their heels, which is not what they're used to. I think that the game that I think back to is the 2009 Sugar Bowl between Utah and Alabama. Alabama was number 4 in the country. Utah was 7. Utah was not in the Pac-12. They were still in the where the heck was it? The Mountain West, yeah. And Kyle Whittingham was their head coach, because obviously Urban Meyer had moved on from Utah quite a while before. And in that game, do you remember what happened in that game, Eric?
I believe Utah jumped on him, didn't they?
Utah jumped on him real quick. In the first quarter, they jumped on him 21-0.
Right.
And the drive,
Alabama was not ready to play. Right. Alabama was not ready. They had their kind of still licking their wounds from the Florida loss. Right.
And here's the thing: the way they did it was not by playing Alabama's game and controlling the clock and running the ball in 3 yards in a cloud of dust. No, they did it with quick strike offense. First 3 drives of the game in the first quarter, 5 plays, 68 yards in minute 19, 5 plays, 32 yards in a minute 37, 7 plays, 65 yards in a minute 57. So that was, I think, the key, and it kind of proved that, this was still Bama while they were still, they were Bama at that point, right? And even in 2009, and Saban and all that, and it just shows me that you can play your game against a physical SEC team, and if you catch them in a position where they are not ready to play because they don't really feel like they have much to play for, and I don't really think
Correct.
Auburn does.
Agreed.
What are they going to do? I mean, they're congratulations, guys! If you win this, you get to 11-3. Oh, okay,
right. You beat UCF. While your rival is playing in the playoffs.
While Bama, yeah, exactly. Who you beat, by the way. And the final of that game was I think 31-17. I think that is sort of the model. If UCF can do what they have tried to do throughout the season, which is jump out on top in a hurry, it can work. The predicted score, I don't know what OddsShark uses to model this, but Their predicted score is 43-40 Auburn, which I don't think, if the game is that high scoring, I don't think Auburn wins. I don't think Auburn wins if it's that.
I don't know about all that. I do think. What do you think about this? I think Scott Frost is going to be really aggressive. Like, when I say aggressive, I think he's going to go for it on some fourth downs.
Yep.
I could see some trick plays being prepared.
I would love to see that. I would love to see UCF play the kind of game like that. Harkening back a while, what Boise State did against Oklahoma, where they're just like, "Hey, we are playing with house money, baby." And we're gonna.
I agree.
And the hell with everything else. We're gonna come out to win this game. We're gonna roll the dice, and if that's what it takes for us to win, fine, let's do it. Why the hell not, right?
Don't you feel like he'll go for it too on some fourth and shorts in Auburn territory?
Definitely.
I don't. I think he's going to be aggressive. I think
he might go back to the whole going for 2 on the first touchdown kind of thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to agree. Heck, I wouldn't be shocked if it came down to the end of the game and, it's a choice between tying the game and going to overtime or going for 2. If you've got a play you're comfortable with, I could see him trying to pull that off. Why not? It's your last game. It's a bowl game.
Yep.
What do you got to lose? Nothing.
If we're going to die, let us die with music, right?
Yeah,
I think is an old saying. But I would go. I would love to see that because I think that should fit with sort of what our personality as a school and a program should be. We're going to go for broke, and we kind of have this inferiority complex, and we're not afraid of you. We're going to punch you in the mouth. I would love to see it. Over-under, by the way, for this game is 67. And 62% of the money is on the over right now.
Yeah, add me onto that list.
A couple other notes I wanted to bring up just statistically. You talked about Auburn's defense, which is very good. 9th in the country in scoring defense, giving up just 17.3 a game. 18th in team pass efficiency defense. 15th in passing yards allowed at 177.8. That's really good. And they're only allowing 134.5 on the ground. That's 31st in the country. Total defense, 12th in the country at 312.3. Let's see. What are some other things? Auburn's not that very good at punting, but that doesn't really matter. They're also very disciplined.
Well, I disagree with you on that. I disagree with you, by the way. I disagree with you. Let's not. Because I think with Mike Hughes
in the country, by the way,
right, against a very good Mike Hughes punt return and even special teams, UCF could steal some a field position standpoint, maybe even get a score off special teams. That's you just accidentally ran into something there. That's something that maybe nobody's talking about.
Accidentally,
but look,
thanks.
But how did UCF beat USF? It was a kick return.
Special teams.
Yeah, the special teams. I mean, USF, if I remember correctly, the special teams was a big edge to UCF. Yeah. So that's actually a big factor. And it'll be interesting to see if I'm Auburn, I don't even kick to them. I mean, kick the ball out of bounds.
Yeah, kick the ball out of bounds. I would love for Auburn to try and get aggressive and be like, oh, we're an SEC team. We can stop this guy. Good luck.
Right. And that's where ego could come back to bite you there because they might say, what's the big deal? Next thing you know, you kick it to Mike Hughes and you give up a touchdown because you thought you could cover it. And next thing you know, you're chasing them.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a point that right there that UCF could take advantage to win this game is on special teams. Even if they don't get a score out of it, they can win the field position. If they only have to go, let's say 55 yards, 60 yards, to score instead of going 80, 90 yards for a drive, that's a huge significant difference. It's almost like an extra couple first downs. So that's a very, very interesting stat that clearly nobody has figured out except you, obviously.
Add into that, UCF, by the way, 7th in the country in punt returns at 15.56 a return, and 8th in kickoff returns at 25 yards a return. So UCF's offense coming in. See, here's a couple things I want to point out. So the Knights are obviously number 1 in scoring offense at 49.4 a game, 5th in total offense at 540 a game, 33rd in rushing at 201, 7th in passing at 339. So there's your unstoppable force meets the immovable object is UCF's pass against Auburn's pass defense. 2nd in team pass efficiency at 183.49. But here is where, if I'm UCF, this is the number one thing you must do, is not turn the ball over. UCF is second in the country in turnover margin at plus 1.25 a game. Auburn is tied for 62nd in the country at plus 0.08. So that means that Auburn has basically turned the ball over as many times as they have forced turnovers, while UCF has done a very good job of taking care of the football, as well as the defense has been doing a good job at forcing turnovers. Now, things have gotten a little bit more sloppy, I think, on those last two games. Particularly, I'm thinking back to the last quarter of the conference championship. Milton had that bad interception when it looked like we could have had a chance to get the game-winning field goal in regulation. You can't make those kinds of silly mistakes throwing to nobody in particular against a team like Auburn. They will eat you alive. So you got to take care of the football.
Yeah, but that's, again, goes back to my original premise of, will Mackenzie Milton get protection? Will the UCF offensive line be able to block the Auburn front seven? Because if they don't, if he gets rushed into some throws, trying to, that's where turnovers
run around, try and do too much with the ball. Yeah, that's where things can get out of hand in a hurry. So there's your big matchup right there. So UCF against Auburn. Again, game time is set for 12:30 p.m. 12:30 p.m. Eastern time on New Year's Day, January 1st, at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. The game will be televised on ESPN. All right, joining us now is our main man providing the perspective on the ground in Atlanta, Brian Murphy, spokes_Murphy on Twitter. Brian, you are the hardest working man in show business. What is happening, man?
Hey guys, greetings from Atlanta, where I got in this morning at about 8 a.m. and went directly to a UCF press conference. It's been that kind of day.
Oh man, I know it's not going to get any easier than next, but hey, so you're at the Hyatt Regency downtown.
Yes.
UCF is there. They've been there for the last couple of days. There's a big bus with staff that's heading up. I think all the UCF folks that are heading up there now. Are you? So give us the lay of the land. How are things going? How are things looking? From a football team perspective.
I feel a very relaxed sense. Which is kind of weird to say for a group of guys who are going to play, what is, in terms of meaning, perhaps the biggest game in the history of the program. But talking to them today, we talked to Otis Anderson, Mackenzie Milton. Mackenzie Milton looks bored right now. I mean, he's very cool. He's very, very nonchalant and very sort of like laid back, cool Hawaii guy.
He's not the highest strung guy to begin with.
No, but like today it was like a little different. Like he's like kept rubbing his eyes. Maybe he was tired. It was like 9 a.m, but like they all seem very relaxed. And Traquan Smith said, they certainly think about what Monday morning is going to be like. They're going to be a little anxious, but they're more excited. And even we talked to Troy Walters today. He gets the sense that, sure, there'll be some early nerves, but I think he says that the kids are more excited than really anxious or nervous about this game.
Murph, what's kind of the mood in the city? What's kind of the, you think UCF's relaxed. What about the city? What about Auburn? What's kind of, I know you've been there a little briefly, but what's kind of the mood in the town there? Have you noticed excitement? How would you describe the town right now?
I really haven't gotten a good local flavor. You see some UCF fans here, and I haven't gone out and walked around and hit the streets. But there's definitely anticipation everywhere you go. Anywhere within a 10-block radius of downtown, every street lamp has the flyer for the Peach Bowl on it. Certainly, we know the excitement's there because of how quickly UCF sold out its allotment of tickets for this game. I have not seen it at this hotel yet, but again, it's only Friday. We've got a full weekend to go, and this hotel should be pretty crowded over the weekend. And then I'm interested to see what I see as I kind of venture out on the streets over the next couple of days.
You've had some time here. Well, I'm curious, Murph. You've had some time to obviously digest this matchup.
Yes.
Lord knows everybody else has. I kind of feel like the player sympathy there. They're bored because we've talked about this game in nonchalant. What's your thoughts on Auburn? Do you feel what concerns you about Auburn? Do you think Auburn will be excited to be playing in this game, or do you think Auburn is going to be a little smug and it's like, I don't know if I want to be here? But what's your thoughts on Auburn here as we get closer to kickoff?
I think somebody asked that to one of the Auburn players today about, not overlooking UCF and wanting to be here back at the same stadium in which they lost the SEC championship game. And I think they'd certainly want to be here. There was a pretty, we all remember Adrian Killens' quote about Auburn's never seen speed like we have. That seems to be lighting a bit of a fire underneath the Tigers that has certainly been made into bulletin board material. A couple of the guys talked about it today and may or may not have used some words that you can't say on this podcast. So they're motivated to be here. I think for UCF, what scares them the most is Auburn's defensive front. It's a huge sack front, tackles for loss, turnovers. And, without Aaron Evans at left tackle, your all-conference left tackle, how do they sort of stem the tide there? Well, they've kicked Jake Brown out from left guard to left tackle. And now left guard, you've got Sam Jackson and Tyler Hudenick, who, look, we talked to Wyatt Miller today, and they all rave about what those guys have done. But it's, certainly, it's one thing to do it in practice and one thing to do it in a game against that front. Now, the coaches and players have said, UCF's offense is what it is. We're going to do what we do. They're not going to change one thing because Aaron Evans is missing. But certainly that matchup of seeing, Jake Brown, can he block the edge, will be one of the biggest matchups of the game, if not the biggest.
Yeah, no, I think it scares everybody. We talked about that earlier, but let me expand on that because that was interesting. So the Killings comments, and for those that don't know, he talked about how Auburn hasn't seen speed like what UCF has and what, in the SEC, they're slow, yada, yada. So has that been the premise there when Auburn players were talking? There was a lot of Killings question. What was kind of the theme when the Auburn – I'm surprised that is still a theme here considering that quote and that statement was made. What was it, Murph? You were there when that statement was made like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, that was made just like directly after we knew they were going to the Peach Bowl. Like this. I think the week before. Yeah, it was like 3 weeks ago. Anyway, I can't think. But yeah, I wouldn't say they've harped on it, but like it's been asked about because it's a spicy meatball. I mean, the press is going to ask about it, and they're going to answer. And so there's the way it's set up here. There's two different types of press conferences. There's one in a big media room where you get to pass the mic around. We've all sort of been there. And then there's another one, a breakout session where you've got 4 players, one at each little desk across a room. That's much more intimate. And in that session, you could, from what I've read, because I wasn't there, but what I read from the transcripts is that they're a little perturbed at that sort of statement. And certainly you can sense that statement has been made into bulletin board material. I'm not saying that Auburn has continually brought that statement up, but when asked about it, they are very, very, very aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, we were breaking down some of the numbers earlier. It's a 9.5 point line. The over-under is 62%, I think, of the bets are on the over. When you look at breaking this down, Brian, when I see it, I think that if it's a high-scoring game, I think that definitely favors UCF. I'm going to get worried if it's a low-scoring game. And Eric and I both agreed that if UCF is going to have a shot at knocking off Auburn here, that they need to do kind of what UCF did against Baylor 4 years ago. And I brought up the 09 Sugar Bowl, if you recall, when Utah beat Alabama, when Alabama was not in the BCS championship game, because I think they lost to Florida that year, where Utah jumped on Alabama 21-0 in the first quarter, and they did it on drives that were all less than 3 minutes. And they didn't do it by shoving it down their throat. They did it by quick strike, and all of a sudden it's 21-0 at the end of the first, and you put them on their heels, and they got to play from behind, and it's difficult for an SEC team that's very physical to sort of switch gears and have to score in a hurry. It's difficult for them to do that. Not saying they can't, but it's difficult. What do you think of how the plot of this game needs to play out for UCF to win?
I think, just talking to Troy Walters today, because I have yet to talk to Scott Frost since I got here just this morning. We'll talk to him later in the week, I believe on Sunday. It sounds like it's a run-first game plan. They really want to get out and create a lot of second and shorts and third and shorts. Stay out of those long passing, long yardage downs, which allows, that defensive front for Auburn to pin its ears back and come after Mackenzie Milton. So I think instead of the sort of quick strike offense, I mean, certainly UCF's offense we know can quick strike it on the ground. But this might be more of a wear it down early, try to get into your second and threes and try to ride Otis Anderson, Adrian Killens, and Mackenzie Milton's legs as far as they can take you.
Yeah, that's interesting to try to establish the run, kind of keep it simple because that helps your offensive line. If you can keep short yardage, long distance really favors the pass rush. What do you think is the key? Philip, finish this thought. UCF knocked off Auburn because they did what?
They, I think, ran the ball successfully because if you run the ball successfully, you basically neutralize that pass rush. Which is, I mean, again, it's the story of the game for Auburn Stevens. Their secondary is very good, but I think Walters was asked, like, what scares you more, the secondary or the front? And he goes, it all starts up front. So if they're able to run the ball, and I mean, I'm not going to say that UCF's going to like slow it down, but slow it down enough to where they're keeping the pass rushers at bay. They can work off, a lot of RPO stuff. If they run for a good clip where they're in a lot of second and shorts and third and shorts, they're gonna have a really good chance at this game. I almost said they're gonna win this game. I did not say that. I will not say that yet. But yeah, I think they
bulletin
win.
board material.
Yeah, right. Yes. There you go, Gus Malzahn.
Yeah.
No, so UCF knocks off Auburn if they're able to run the ball consistently for solid yardage.
What do you think? What do you think is going through Scott Frost and the staff's mind here? It's been a long month. It's been documented nationally. Stories have been done about it. What do you think Scott Frost comes out with on Monday? I said earlier, I think he's going to be very aggressive. I think he's going to go for it on fourth and shorts if they're in Auburn territory. Because I think he wants to go out with a bang and knock off Auburn and end this season. How do you feel the staff? And you talked to Troy Walters. You've mentioned that we're here near the finish line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, as far as game planning, I don't think you're going to see much that's different. Like, Scott Frost and this team has been going for fourth and shorts a lot this year in deep territory. And so I don't think they're going to get away from that. I thought one thing that was interesting today from Wyatt Miller is that he said that this period from after the Memphis game to now has sort of been, he said it's a long goodbye. And he meant it in a very positive way, sort of waxing poetic about what it's been like to spend time with these coaches again, these seniors, and sort of come together with all this time off, reflect a little bit on what they've accomplished and know that they still have one game left. And I think they've really enjoyed having all these coaches here. I think the coaches are also getting a kick out of it because they've stated they love these players, and if they didn't, they wouldn't be here, obviously. So I think it's a very sort of like kumbaya, harmonious relationship right now. I think everybody knows what's going to happen on January 2nd. All these coaches are gone. So I think they're relishing these last few days here. And like Wyatt said, it's been really nice to have them around. And he talked about how the coaches these coaches empowered these players. They made the players the leaders of the teams. He really went on and on about how these coaches changed this team, not only on the field, but off the field, in the locker room. And so I think to have these last few days, we'll have one more game with this group, I think these players love it.
The interesting thing I saw, and you touched upon this in your piece that you wrote on blackandgoldbanneret.com, the relationship, such as there is one, between Josh Heupel, who's kind of standing, from afar, kind of observing things, and Scott Frost, who's on the ground right now with the team. How would you describe that? I use the word relationship, but I know it's a very loose term. But these guys are. It's like a transition period, right, between administrations, and they're sort of working together to sort of find common ground. And while Josh Heupel is getting the lay of the land, I'm sure Scott Frost is sharing with him some of the things that he knows about the team and things that Josh needs to look out for. So how has that played out in this last month since the transition started?
I think Josh has been pretty careful about talking about the current players on the team. I asked him a couple weeks ago on the early signing day press conference that he had, because Josh said he had talked to Mackenzie Milton a lot off the field since he's been the coach. And I asked him, have you talked about things that maybe Mackenzie can do better? And he kind of skewed that question. He goes, well, I'm going to let these guys get finished with this season first. I think Josh has been, Josh has obviously been around, but very hands-off. He's got his own job to do, recruiting, certainly being at the top of the list. So it's two different coaches doing two different things. They sort of, they're around each other. They've spoken to each other, but I don't think there's a whole lot of deep X's and O talk going on, or really deep conversations going on. Scott Frost has his thing, which is this game, and Josh Heupel has his thing, which is preparing him for the 2018 season.
Yeah, no, I want to say, are we going to hear from Josh Heupel here either prior to the bowl game? I'm wondering if he'll appear on the national broadcast, kind of like sometimes coaches do that on bowl games. Like Willie Taggart, for example, was in Shreveport, so he appeared on the ESPN telecast of the Independence Bowl. Could we see Josh Heupel make an appearance on the ESPN broadcast to kind of talk about taking over the program? Will he talk to the media like yourself prior to the game?
Well, probably not here unless it's unannounced. It's not been scheduled. If ESPN's going to talk to him, they're probably going to have to get in Danny White's box because that's probably where Josh will be during the game. He'll be in a suite.
Don't rule it out.
Yeah. So, I mean, what we have for the rest of the week is basically tomorrow we get to talk to the defensive guys. So we talked to Troy Walters and 5 offensive players today. Tomorrow it's Eric Shenander and 5 defensive players. And then the 31st, Gus Malzahn and Scott Frost hold a joint press conference on the eve of the game.
All right, so a little breaking news while we're talking. UCF has released its uniform combo.
Oh boy!
It'll be all whites, white pants, white shirts, white jerseys, and gold helmets. And my first thought was, that's the same uniform we wore 4 years ago in the Fiesta Bowl against Baylor. So maybe a little good luck. We did it before. We can do it again, kind of thing. I don't know. So,
well, yeah. I mean, that's exactly what they're going for. They're trying to recreate that. I mean, I kind of heard that from people going in that was probably the combination they were going to go with. So I'm not surprised. I'm envious, by the way, Murph, because you obviously going to be in the press box. So I'm assuming, obviously, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. I know what your media deal is going to be.
Oh yeah, chicken sandwiches galore, man. Can I tell you a quick story about that too? We were. I covered the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl once. It was Georgia, Virginia Tech about 10 years ago. And it was Matthew Stafford's freshman year at Georgia. Literally, there were so many chicken sandwiches everywhere. I mean, you could not escape the chicken sandwiches. I don't think I ate Chick-fil-A. I lived in Georgia at the time, and I didn't have Chick-fil-A for a month after that because there were so flippin' many chicken sandwiches all over the place.
Yeah, I'll give you one guess. I'll give you one guess as what was available to media after the press conferences today. Yeah,
it sure as heck wasn't
chicken
salmon.
Biscuits. It was chicken biscuits.
Chicken biscuits. Oh my god. Oh god.
Is there any chance you can bring some of that back? Because I'm going to be at LSU. Yeah, because I'm going to be at the LSU Notre Dame game, right? So I've been covering the Citrus Bowl for the last decade. In the last few years, Buffalo Wild Wings was the sponsor. So, which was great because I got Buffalo Wild Wings for the media spread. Well, guess what? They're no longer a sponsor. So I have no idea what to expect now. Now I'm really concerned.
And Buffalo Wild Wings ain't no Chick-fil-A. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for free sandwiches, Eric, remember at the Memphis game, they were handing out those free chicken sandwich tickets. Well, I've talked to some people. I've gotten a few more. Actually, I've gotten quite a bit more. I've turned into now the Pablo Escobar of free Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich tickets. So if you want free chicken sandwiches, holla at your boy. I'm just passing out gift cards over here.
Oh,
deal.
Gosh. Yes.
Deal.
Sign me up, man.
Trust me. In fact, that's one of the things, Murph, we're going to have to compare media spreads here on pregame. Obviously, you get a half hour head start on me on Monday. But I have a feeling you're going to have a big edge on you, and that's going to be very. I'm already very mixed feelings about feel weird about being at another game while I'm watching the UCF game. It's a very weird day, and it's just going to be amplified when you just show off like the big spread they got for Chick-fil-A.
Yes, this is the coverage that UCF fans are dying for from Black and Gold Banneret.
Darn right, bro.
Media meals. So,
hey, Knights fans. Don't you want to know what's being served as the media meal at the Citrus Bowl? Don't you want to know what that is?
All right.
Your old home.
Brian Murphy in Atlanta for this weekend. Obviously, the game is Monday at 12:30 p.m. kick. Brian, give us a quick preview of what you got coming up on the site here over the weekend.
All right, so in a very short amount of time, I am aiming to get 4 articles up. 3 of them will be very quick, and 1 of them will be the preview. I want to get things about the Jake Brown transition at left tackle. There was also some interesting comments today about, UCF, are they the underdog? Or I asked a lot of questions about the Goliath versus Goliath hype video that you might have seen on the Peach Bowl's Twitter account. Mm-hmm. So I asked some questions to the guys about being the underdog or being the co-favorite, as it were. And then also kind of an article about reflecting about what this team has done. And although whatever happens on Monday, we should keep in mind what this team has done is, as Scott Frost says, pretty impossible. So just let's back up just a little bit. So those 3 things, and then between then at some point the preview. So I got a lot, and there's there could be more to come because who knows what will be said tomorrow. I'm sure I'll write something after Frost talks on Sunday afternoon, because when Scott Frost speaks at this point, it's gospel. I mean, you don't get many more chances left. You don't get many more chances left.
Yep. That's true. And for folks who are looking for that stuff, obviously blackandgoldbanneret.com. And also, how can they get in touch with you, Brian?
Oh, I'm at spokes_Murphy on Twitter.
All right. And we will be, I know I'll be watching that. We'll also, don't forget, we will have the live blog. We got a new live blog platform coming for you for this game. I will be in the stands for the game. Brian, you'll be in the press box. Derek Warden will be on the field shooting photos. So it should be, it's going to be a fun New Year's Day. I know that. It's going to be, it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. And I'm so happy that you are up there covering it, because I know that we are well taken care of in terms of that, and Derek as well. So that should be a lot of fun. Brian Murphy from Atlanta here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Brian, thanks again, brother.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Stick around. Coming up next after our break, we're going to have a very special guest, old buddy of ours, Eric Lopez, you talk about guys who bleed black and gold. It's this guy, our friend, the Associate Athletic Director for Fan Development, Jimmy Skiles, will join us to talk about Bowl Week in Atlanta, or as we're saying it, Nightlanta, this week. What to do. This is going to be sort of our fan guide of what to do in Atlanta for Peach Bowl weekend. If you're a Knight fan. So stick around. The Black and Gold Banneret Podcast is back after this. The Black and Gold Banneret Podcast is brought to you by the Sam Unger Real Estate Team. Sam and his team proudly serve Orange, Seminole, and Lake counties, specializing in buying, selling, and new construction. Powered by eXp Realty. Sam is a proud UCF graduate, class of 2006, and fans, he's such a dedicated Knight fan that right now, if you work with him as your realtor, he will donate a portion of his commission to the UCF Football Excellence Fund in your name. The real estate market here in Central Florida has been on the move for some time now, so if you're ready to buy a new home or sell your current home, Sam's got you covered so you can find the right home at the right price in the right location. So give Sam a call right now at 407-790-9957. Again, that's 407-790-9957. Or visit him on the web at samsellsorlando.net. Again, that's samsellsorlando.net. You can also reach Sam on Facebook at facebook.com/samsellsorlando. Get in touch with the Sam Unger Real Estate Team today and make finding your dream home a reality.
Hello, Night Nation. I'm Andrew Fegley.
And I'm Trey Strelko. Where are we? This isn't our usual spot.
It looks like we've landed in the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of those guys.
You know, Nightline has UCF sports covered.
Week in and week out, we bring you interviews with newsmakers and in-depth analysis of UCF sports.
Subscribe to our weekly podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Be sure to subscribe to Nightline on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at UCF_Nightline.
Trace, can we go back to the 1148 studios now and start working on our next all-new Nightline?
How do we get out of here? Go Knights!
Charge on.
Now back to you guys in the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Jeff Sharon, Eric Lopez with you. blackandgoldbanneret.com, facebook.com/Black and Gold Banneret, and UCF_Banneret on Twitter. Now, joining us here, we recorded this actually before the holiday, but I wanted to get this out now because we're going to do our little UCF fan guide to the Peach Bowl, all right, to the 2018 Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl between UCF and Auburn. New Year's Day, 12:30 p.m. If you're going to the game, this guy has y'all set. By the way, I wanted to send special thanks to all the folks at UCF in the athletic department, communications, marketing, everybody, not just for all the help that they've given us throughout the year, but everything that they've been doing for this game, really making it a fun experience for UCF fans because it was a bummer when we were forced to go out to Phoenix for the Fiesta Bowl 4 years ago. And, I mean, a lot of UCF fans traveled out there, but, I mean, obviously it's a cross-country trip. Not as many as you could. This game is sold out. The UCF ticket allotment is sold out, and a lot of Knight fans are coming out in force in Atlanta to try and cheer the Knights on in this first big-time bowl game for UCF in the Eastern time zone. So our guest is Jimmy Skiles. He's the Associate Athletic Director for Fan Development. We have known him since he was a young whippersnapper in the communications department at UCF. He came on and wanted to do some play-by-play back when I was the sports director of the student radio station. He and his friend Brandon Purrington joined at the same time. Jimmy was a much better broadcaster than he let himself on, and I have audio proof of that, by the way. And he went into marketing, actually started as a marketing intern for UCF and worked his way up, went out to Virginia Tech for 3 years, and then he came back to UCF. Wow, just a lot of the stuff that you see behind the scenes in terms of UCF trying to the marketing that UCF does for big events, not just for football, but for basketball and every other sport. This guy has a hand in it, and I'm happy that I've known Jimmy for a long time. Graduated from UCF in 2006, so he bleeds black and gold through and through. And like I said, we recorded this interview last week, but we wanted to get it out to you. If you're heading up to Atlanta, this is a must-listen for you. If you're a Knight fan, you're heading to the game. Or even if you're just coming up to Atlanta just to enjoy the atmosphere and maybe you'll be catching the game somewhere else. So without further ado, here is UCF's Associate Athletic Director for Fan Development, Jimmy Skiles. Jimmy, what's going on? How busy is it over there right now?
Well, it's starting to, the first days once we won the conference championship, those days were crazy. Once we got everything situated and all that, it started to slow down a little bit. But man, just you kind of talking about where we got to know each other back when we were in school. How crazy is it that here we are going to our second New Year's Six Bowl in 5 years or whatever it's been? I mean, when you and I were calling games for campus radio in the old venue and stuff like that, we looked at who our aspirational peers, who we wanted to be like one day, and I think we've exceeded everything that we ever talked about. Like, I don't know if you and I had the conversation like I had with some of those other guys like Brandon Purrington and stuff, where we'd be like, man, if we could just be, like San Diego State one day, that'd be awesome. And
man, Boise State, look what they're doing. Couldn't we do that?
Yeah, look at that. And now here we are, and it's we'd like to think that the momentum's just going to keep going. And so what a ride it's been on the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's really been something. And I think the validation of getting to a New Year's Six Bowl game for a second time, I think really it really speaks volumes to how far UCF has come since we were freshmen. I was a freshman in 01-02, you not long after that. So, and this is the best part about it, is the fact that this is, yes, UCF's second New Year's Six bowl game, but the first one to be this close to home. And the tickets basically are all sold out from UCF's initial allotment at Mercedes-Benz Stadium of 12,500. Before we get to sort of the schedule of events, when you guys saw the ticket numbers come in, I mean, what were you thinking when you saw everything roll in?
Oh man, it was awesome, because one of the roles that I serve on is the marketing guy as well. So, the whole bowl ticket situation is always tough. Each school gets their allotment that they're responsible for selling, and you never really know how fans are going to respond with, secondary markets and all that sort of stuff. But, this kind of reminds me of, our very first bowl game we played in was in Hawaii. Not a lot of people got to go to that one because it was so far. Similar to how our first BCS/New Year's Six bowl game we got to go to was further away in Arizona, where I know a lot of people had plans to go to New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl or to Miami for the Orange Bowl, and then we get sent out to Arizona. And I mean, we still had a great showing of UCF fans out there, but now to have this one in such close proximity to UCF and to so many of our alums, like I'm looking at a stat here in front of me that within 250 miles of Atlanta, we have 14,000 alums. Within 500 miles of Atlanta, we have 224,000
Holy moly.
UCF alums. So, I mean, it's just a natural, kind of a perfect storm for us. I think the students really set the tone for how ticket sales we're going to go for the bowl when, how the Peach Bowl has it. Those first the 500 student tickets for each school go for, I think it was $50 now. It was a couple weeks ago, so I'm forgetting about that. But, I was here on Sunday. Those tickets were going on sale Monday at 9 a.m., and when I left the office Sunday evening, there's students already lining up to camp out for their tickets. So I think as we look back on, some of the special visuals of this season, and obviously everyone's going to remember the big plays and the confetti and all that, but, the days after the confetti had fallen and we won the conference championship, and, you have students camping out, and not just like, 50 students camping out because they think it'd be fun to camp out for Peach Bowl tickets. There were hundreds of students that camped out that night, during finals week to get their tickets. And, I wake up early the next morning and, all the news stations are out there. And I think that really set the tone with how ticket sales were going to go for the general fans too, because I think they saw the excitement, and it just carried over. And the Peach Bowl is obviously very happy with how fast we sold out our allotment. And then I just saw the social stuff today from the Chick-fil-a Peach Bowl that the game in general is officially sold out. Sold out as well. So that's exciting stuff, man.
That's unbelievable. I mean, it's really great to see, because because not only is it going to be an amazing atmosphere, I think, in the stadium, but also on television. I think it's going to be quite a spectacle on New Year's Day. So, all right, let's talk about the week of the game. This is a New Year's January 1st bowl game. And I mean, how everyone knows how these bowls are. There's all kinds of events that take place around there. So, and a lot of UCF fans are traveling up. Maybe they're familiar with Atlanta, but not familiar with what's going on the UCF side of things. So, all right, I'm a UCF fan. I'm traveling up. What's the first UCF fan event I can go to start getting ready for the bowl game?
All right. Well, on December 30th, the band, the Marching Knights, along with Auburn's band, will be doing a kind of a pep rally thing out at Six Flags over Georgia. That's at 2 p.m. Six Flags has a evening Christmas spectacular deal. So 2 p.m. is actually when the park opens that day, and is open until late. If you go to UCFKnights.com and follow the bowl links, you can find there's some discounted tickets for both teams' fan bases for $30 for a visit on that evening. So that's really the first day. That night, we want people to tune in. We're going to have the Night Talk radio show. Mark Daniels we'll be doing that. That will be at a GKC event they'll be having at the World of Coke headquarters, but we want people to definitely tune in to that radio show that evening.
Okay.
Moving into New Year's Eve, that's when really the bowl festivities get kicked in, and you touched on this. These 6 bowls that become the New Year's 6 bowls have reached this status because of the hospitality and not only what they put on for the team, but what they do for the fans. I mean, the events and how the cities really take pride in these bowl games. So these events are, they are known for their hospitality at these New Year's 6 bowls. So that's what really gets going December 31st. So from 2 to 5 p.m. at the UCF team hotel, which is the Omni, right there in downtown. It's connected to the College Football Hall of Fame. It's across Centennial Park from World of Coke and the aquarium and stuff. But 2 to 5 p.m. is the Hotel Fan Fest. Our band is going to perform there for about 15 minutes or so, around 4:30. One thing to note for UCF fans that are going to be in the area, be in the downtown area on the 31st, excuse me, the Falcons have a game that night or that afternoon as well.
Right.
So they'll be playing the Saints. So it's going to, sometimes downtown Atlanta on a weekend, especially a weekend holiday, you'd think maybe kind of dead, but with a Falcons game going on, expect there to be a lot of, with the Falcons game going on and then with our bowl game the next day, there should be a whole lot of stuff going on, even during the day, not just the nighttime New Year's Eve festivities. So that's the Hotel Fan Fest. That will lead up into the fan night at the aquarium. So same thing, the Georgia Aquarium that's right there in downtown. It's a fan night for both teams. Again, there's some discounted tickets going on UCFnights.com. That goes from 4 to 8. The band will be there. The cheerleaders will be there. Nitro will be there. Just a cool experience. What I've heard, it's a really cool aquarium.
Yeah,
Never been there before.
Yeah, I've been there before.
Awesome.
I've been there before when I lived in Georgia. We dropped by there a couple times. It is the coolest aquarium I've ever seen, and I'm from South Florida saying that. I've seen my share of marine life in captivity, but it is really an awesome place, and it's a cool place to bring the kids too. If you can make it down to the Georgia Aquarium, if you're in Atlanta, especially for when UCF is when the Marching Knights are there, it really is worth the trip.
Yeah, so that would be a fun time that's a great point to bring the family and, again, take pictures of the cheerleaders and with Nitro and hope to see a lot of black and gold there before people kind of head off, to do their New Year's Eve festivities. But on that note of New Year's Eve festivities, things can't get too crazy because it's early morning the next day with the 12:30 kickoff. So we need UCF fans fresh on New Year's Day. So the parade on New Year's morning starts at 8 a.m. And it goes there again right through downtown. And it's just cool. That's you think of the big time bowls having their parades, and it's going to be cool for again the marching knights and the spirit teams to be a part of that parade. Going along with that too, from 8 to 12 at FanFest and the Georgia World Congress Center right there. The UCF portion there, so they do pep rallies. There'll be an Auburn pep rally there. There'll be a UCF pep rally there. The UCF pep rally is going to be at 10:50 a.m. Mm-hmm. So that should be kind of that last thing that people get to do right before they head over to the stadium and get ready for the game. Let's see, what else did I forget about looking back? The Alumni Association.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I wanted to mention that too because this actually sounds like a pretty cool event if you're a UCF fan too, with the Alumni Association.
Yep, the Alumni Association is having the UCF Charge on tailgate at the College Football Hall of Fame. That event right now is currently at capacity, so hopefully you guys got your tickets for that. For more information on that, it's ucfalumni.com/bowlbound. So they have reached capacity on that. But if you know somebody that had a ticket that and isn't going anymore, you might want to try to get in on that, because they're at the College Football Hall of Fame. It's going to be a cool deal as well. And then again, backtracking, sorry about that. On December 31st, Alumni Association's also, they're doing a watch party for the basketball game we're playing at East Carolina. That event is also at capacity. So it's great to see UCF fans just, selling out our ticket allotment, selling out the UCF Charge On tailgate, selling out the basketball watch party. But, there's still plenty of stuff going on all around downtown Atlanta just to get in the bowl spirit.
Yeah. You'll be happy to know I got my tickets in the mail on UPS yesterday. I got 2 tickets. So
nice.
So I'm bringing my so here's how this works. I'm going as a fan because I didn't get to go to Phoenix, and to this day I still regret it. So I want to go to the Peach. I've covered the Peach Bowl before as a media member when I was working in Georgia. That was the Georgia-Virginia Tech game in 2007, I want to say it was, 07, 08, somewhere around there. But I'm going as a fan this time around. It's new Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and I'm bringing my son, who I'm trying to indoctrinate. Nice. and so what would be your recommendation if you're coming with a family, with the kids? Like, what would be your itinerary for this week? I guess, not just New Year's Eve, but in that morning heading to the bowl game. Like, what would you recommend?
Game day, I would definitely get out to the parade. Make sure for everybody listening that you do check the weather. My wife is also from South Florida, like you are, and she has seen the potential of snow. Some snow flurries in the forecast.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's gonna be cold up there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna freak out some of our fans, me included. Thinking about maybe being out at the parade while that's happening. But the Fan Fest things. I've been to the Fan Fest at up in Atlanta before for SEC championship games, and actually a Peach Bowl before, and it's just cool. There's lots of interactive things to go do, especially for kids. I remember going into the Georgia World Congress Center and going to those Fan Fest things when I was a kid, and all the interactive games and giveaways and you name it. There's just stuff to do, and then the fact that again that the Marching Knights and Nitro and cheerleaders will be doing a pep rally there at 10:50. That would be really fun to do. As a kid, you get to run out and get to run through drills and kick field goals and jump over the inflatable things that you pretend like you're going through an obstacle course and diving over the line into the end zone. So lots of fun stuff to do at that Fan Fest.
Cool. And the best part about it, and this is one of the reasons why this is a great spot to have an event like this, is everything's kind of in the same sort of 1 square mile area. You have the stadium, you have the World Congress Center right next to it, CNN Center and the Omni Complex is right there. The Georgia Aquarium is right around the corner, which is across the street from the College Football Hall of Fame. It's all right there. So, so for those of us who are attached to our phones, trying to figure out where we go, what do you recommend we follow in order to keep abreast of all the UCF events and information?
Yeah, definitely make sure you're following at UCF football and at UCF Knights. Again, it's a relatively early morning with a 12:30 game and getting into downtown. Parking is limited, so definitely I know fans are saying all throughout the Atlanta area. So look at taking MARTA as an option, jumping on the train, and there's lots of very close stations right down there. So definitely consider doing that. Probably less traffic to have to deal with that way. The College Football Hall of Fame, also, I keep forgetting to mention that. I've only gotten to see the lobby. We went up for a site visit, and I got to see the lobby of that place. And I can't wait to go walk around that. It looks like a really, really special place. And then the stadium itself is obviously brand new. There is some, they just took down the Georgia Dome, so that's a big pit of rubble right now that's right there. But definitely give yourself some time to get in the stadium early and walk around and just, soak that in. That was one of my favorite parts about the Fiesta Bowl. I was working at Virginia Tech at that time, but wasn't going to miss that. So I was able to get out there and just walking in there as a fan and, seeing the Knights that on that stage and in a stadium like that is awesome. The stadium is huge. I mean, obviously the capacity wise is typically the size of an NFL stadium. I want to say 74 or 78, something like that. So the stadium itself, capacity-wise, is what a lot of NFL stadiums are. But, they pride themselves on their being a comfortable stadium and plenty of space. So just the size of the seats and the amount of space make the structure of the stadium so big. So you walk in, and I mean, you feel like it should be like a 150,000 seat stadium, which is how big it is. Yeah. But it's just because it's roomy. That's what the NFL does better than anybody in the world is their fan experience, and so it's going to be a really, really fun time, really cool experience for all the fans going. So make sure you get in the stadium early, walk around, and really soak it all in.
Yeah, it seats 71 for football, expandable to 83. So I wonder how close we're going to get to with that. And also, I know, obviously, kickoff is set for a little bit after 12:30 p.m., but they're going to be starting things on the field, I think, a good, hour before that. So what would you recommend would be a good time to, wherever you're coming from, to hop into the stadium and check things out?
Yeah, I would get in. I'd get in an hour before, minimum, just to get in there at by 11:30. It gives people time. Where the Fan Fest is, where the UCF Pep Rally is at 10:50 a.m. That's a quick walk. I mean, you're walking out the front doors of the Georgia World Congress Center and staring right at the stadium. Yeah. So it's not like it's a long walk to get there. A couple things. It's a clear bag policy, just like our stadiums, to make sure. Especially if you're taking the train in, don't bring anything with you except for your clear bag, and just get ready to get in there, be loud. We're having UCF fans wear black. We put that out on social media.
Good call, yeah.
And so the fans spoke. We left it up to the masses to decide what the fans should wear. Auburn is. We checked with them. They're telling their fans to wear orange. So we're going black, and then the whole night lights thing that we introduced at the Space game, and then really took off in the USF game. This dome is going to be dark enough that where you can flip those cell phone lights on, and especially when UCF is running out of the tunnel, when UCF goes to kick off, as when we were doing it during the USF game. I think that's going to be a very powerful way for people to see on TV. And to show the nation how strong UCF fans traveled to this bowl game, which is a big time statement to make with how many eyes are going to be watching this game. So when UCF goes to kick off the ball, make sure you pull out those cell phones and turn on your flashlight.
Good stuff. And of course, like you said, don't forget to wear black into the stadium.
That's right.
So, all right, cool stuff. Jimmy Skiles from UCF Athletics. Real quick, if people have questions for you, how can they reach out to you or folks that you work alongside over in the athletic department if they have questions?
Yep. Personally, you shoot me an email at jskiles@athletics.ucf.edu. That's going to be the best way to get a hold of me, or on Twitter at Jimmy Skiles, because obviously I won't be in the office to take any calls because we'll be up in Atlanta. Or, we got great guys running our social accounts that are pretty responsive on if you have questions. Also, the Chick-fil-a Peach Bowl social handles, they take great pride in their social accounts as well. And so, if one thing to remember for fans, if you're headed to the stadium, it's better to ask those people the questions on Twitter, about arriving to the stadium and all that. They're the pros on that. We'll be getting up there probably a few days before some of our fans, but we're not going to be as expert on certain stadium policies or questions that folks may have on what they can either whether it's parking or arriving to the stadium. So definitely reach out to those social handles for the Mercedes-Benz Stadium and the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
Yeah, I know the Peach Bowl is CFA Peach Bowl on Twitter, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yep, that sounds right.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much. Hopefully I'll run into you in Atlanta at some point. Until then, listen, have a great holiday, man. Be safe traveling, and I'll see you for the Peach Bowl, man.
All right, likewise. Charge on.
Thanks once again to Jimmy. Always good to talk to him. I'm hoping I'll get the chance to see him when I go up there for the game. Just to say hi and thanks again, because this is a big moment for all the folks behind the scenes at UCF who you don't see, but you see their handiwork every day. So thanks again to Jimmy for his help and just giving us the lay of the land if we're here down there in Atlanta. So Lopez, all right. So this will give us a chance to give you our coverage plan for the game. Brian Murphy is going to be covering the game live from the press box. We got a live blog set up. And we're using a new platform for our live blog that we found. So this should be a lot of fun. Make sure you check that out. We will also have Derek Warden coming up there. He'll be taking photos of the game on the field. I'm so excited that he's getting the chance to do that. So I want to thank the folks at the Peach Bowl for their help in getting our guys in there and covering the game. I can't wait to see Derek's photo gallery, by the way, who's just been fantastic. Brian, of course, it just goes without saying how amazing his work has been throughout the year. He's already covering stuff up there. He's been going to practice and everything. So follow him at _Murphy for all the latest there. And then in addition to that, now I will be going up to the game, and this is where I'm kind of I don't know if I would call it pulling rank, but I will be going as a fan. My son's 3, and he and I are heading up New Year's Eve, and we'll be going to the game as fans. We're going to that UCF alumni tailgate event at the College Football Hall of Fame, which I'm really excited to do. And then we'll be going to the game. We'll be sitting in we'll be sitting in section 342. And,
are you going to give a? You're going to give us a little video, maybe a little Periscope, a little Facebook Live kind of fan perspective?
Yeah, I'm going to do a couple things while I'm up there, kind of going from the fan perspective because, like I said, I didn't get to go to the Fiesta Bowl in Phoenix. I really wanted to. I just couldn't make it happen. And so I always vowed to myself that, one day I would want to experience a UCF football game, as an alumnus, as a fan, a big-time UCF Bowl game as a fan, and I wanted to get up there and do that. And I'm getting a chance to do that, and I'm sharing that with my son, so that's really important to me, and I can't wait to do it. So now, Lopez, what are you going to be doing? Where are you going to be?
I'll be watching the game. I'll be watching it either on the computer or on the TV somewhere.
Okay. So you'll be back here in Orlando, but you'll be monitoring it, and we have the live blog set up for you too, so you'll be able to dive in on that too, right?
That's good. That is very good. I will kind of go more of a television standpoint and kind of peek in there. Now,
you're going to be doing what I did throughout the year, like monitoring the game from the television perspective as everyone watches it, while someone else is monitoring the game from inside the press box, and the discussion continues.
Now, the weird thing about it is there's a very high the probability is I will actually be in a press box watching the UCF game because I'm working the LSU Notre Dame game.
Oh, that's right. You are working the game. Okay, you're doing stats?
I am not doing stats. I'm actually getting post-game audio for an audio site service, MetroSource. So I actually I'm making money. That's why I'm doing this. It's all economics, folks.
Right. Listen, people, we are all working. We're all working people, and we have bills we got to pay too. So
yeah. So if you want me to go to the bowl game, you fly me in. That's cool. But no. No, I'm going to the LSU Notre Dame Bowl game. So I'll be in a press box watching the UCF game and the LSU game. So I don't even know exactly how this. I do know this. I'm not the only UCF guy that's going to be in the building. I'm just going to leave it as that. So I feel relieved about that. But I am going to watch the UCF game. Obviously, that's the beauty of technology. Thank you, ESPN Watch app. I can watch it on my phone even. So I will probably be behind you guys because you'll be there live. So, and right, because you've told me that when I've been to the games, you've said that usually when you're in the game, me and Murph are usually ahead of you, for example.
Right.
Is that accurate?
There's always a delay. So, yeah.
So I will probably kind of maybe what I might do is more of, okay, what are they saying on the television that might jump out, or what's kind of the mood, or, kind of some things that I can see there. And then obviously the days following, I will be monitoring to see what the rating is for the game from a national standpoint. And then also from a local standpoint. Remember, the highest rated UCF game locally, just in the Central Florida area, ever was that Fiesta Bowl, which did about a 17.4 local rating.
Right.
My prediction for that, and I don't know if you agree with this, I don't think it'll reach that number because the Baylor game was a prime time game, and it's very common. More people are at home watching games at night or at home in general than, say, a 12:30 kickoff. Plus, I don't think the numbers will be as big. Plus, I think there'll be people that will watch the Notre Dame LSU game. There's going to be people that are going to watch the Michigan South Carolina game in the area. So I don't think it'll reach that number, but I expect it to be a big number. Mm-hmm. The question is, will it do a bigger number than the UCF USF game did locally? That game did about an 11.
Right. That was a big
11
number.
Do you think it'll do bigger than that?
Yeah, I think it will. I don't. There are some. There's going to be some division nationally from the other games that are taking place at the same time, but locally, this is the ticket. This is the ticket that people are going to be watching. So, I think it'll be neck and neck with the Fiesta Bowl. I don't think it'll outrate the Fiesta Bowl. I think it'll be neck and neck with it.
Okay, so you think it'll be around you think it'll be about a 15-16 range, we'll say, locally?
Locally, yeah.
I tend to think it'll be about a 13. I'll go 13 to 14 range.
Okay.
That's still a very good number, a strong number, obviously. So that'll be something I'll monitor from a television standpoint. So I'll be covering that. By the way, so speaking of which, so check this out. So I'm weekend-wise. So I'm going to the Heat Magic game on Saturday the 30th. Matt Williams, let's give a shout-out to Matt Williams, scored his first NBA points in a Heat win over the Magic in Miami. They're going to play again in Orlando. I'm actually going to hope to talk to him in person and hope to have this on the site or on our next episode and talk to Matt, see how things are going for the Heat. I'm curious what he thinks of the UCF basketball team, if he's following them, and what his thoughts are. So I'm hoping to catch up with Matt, and so I'll be at the Magic Heat game covering that. And then I just got a nice gift. I'll be going to the Bucks Saints game, sitting at the 50-yard line.
All right,
on Sunday.
All right. Good stuff.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of my weekend there. So I'll be a triple header of sports there, but a lot of different things. So I'm going to be all over the place. But obviously, UCF game will be watched.
All right, switching gears real quick. Speaking of basketball, Eric Lopez, let's check in with UCF women's basketball, which I was fortunate enough yesterday. We're recording this Friday, December 29th. I was fortunate enough yesterday to do PA for women's basketball yesterday for their non-conference finishing matchup with non-conference schedule ending matchup with Davidson. Knights get a 62-54 victory over the Wildcats. They start conference play Saturday at home, 2 p.m. against Temple. I'll be on the PA mic for that at CFE Arena. UCF kind of just jumped out to a really quick start, and then Davidson kind of came back. The game was tied at 28 as late as the third quarter, but then UCF kind of pulled away. Aaliyah Gregory, just another day for her, right? 4 of 11 from the field, but 7 of 10 at the line. 15 points to lead UCF. 11 points from Kayla Thigpen to go with 7 rebounds. She was kind of all over the place. And KK Wright had 10 points. 5 assists for Zakiya Saunders, who was very active at the point to go with 6 points of her own. And I thought UCF got a little bit of a spark from L'Oreal Wilson off the bench, too, when KK got into foul trouble. She had a couple of big buckets and some limited playing time as well. So UCF gets the win over Davidson. The Knights right now are, after the 62-54 win, are 8-5 overall as they head into conference play with the conference opener against Temple, 2 p.m. on Saturday. One thing I wanted to note about this team, though, is that they really look like they're missing Zy Lewis. Obviously, she was a senior last year and she graduated, but the three-point threat that she presented really was something that I think caught a lot of teams, particularly in the second half of the season, off balance, because UCF could do this sort of inside-outside game. Right now, the Knights don't have anyone who can consistently shoot the three. As a team, UCF was 1 of 2 from the outside, and it was Nyla Schuler who shot both of those threes. The Knights shot 42.9% from the field as a whole en route to the victory, and held Davidson to just 34.5%. But I think that could be a trouble. That could really come back and hurt the Knights in conference play with the lack of 3-point shooting, though.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to be the same premise with the men's side. But, that's certainly been an issue with the women's side. At least they're getting healthier, because I know they were banged up at one point. Look, conference starts right away with Temple at home. Temple is an NCAA tournament team last year. So that's a big one right off the bat. And then I believe they go on the road at SMU. And then they got Wichita State on the 6th, which I'll be at. So here we go. This is the time of year. So, but it was good to see they've kind of bounced back after that long West Coast trip, and got a good win. But you're right. I agree. I think the shooting perimeter is certainly a question, and it's going to be a question until somebody steps up.
Yeah, as we look ahead in the schedule, they go right on the road on Wednesday at SMU in conference before they play Wichita State next Saturday too. So, and that's at home on the American Digital Network. You can catch that one as well. But I want to see,
baby. Yours truly will be on the sideline.
That's right. You will be on the sideline for that. So I'm interested to see how this will shape up for UCF. Will they find someone who can provide some 3-point shooting? I don't know. It's going to be tough to see. And men's basketball, checking in with them. 9-4 record right now after the win at South Carolina State, but they lose the conference opener in Dallas against SMU. They're playing 4 p.m. New Year's Eve. That's Sunday at ECU. That game will be on ESPN News. The missed free throws, I think, are what hurt UCF in this game, because they were right with SMU. They were down double digits late and kind of scored 5 points at the end to kind of make it look like a little bit closer than it was. But I do think that this was a close game, that UCF had a shot at winning. 6 of 14 from the free throw line is not going to do it for the game. UCF was led by Dayon Griffin and A.J. Davis, who had 12 points each, but nobody shot better than 50% individually, and that was Chad Brown, who was 3 for 6, but AJ was 4 for 10. Terrell Allen was 2 of 11. Cesar DeJesus was 4 for 9. Griffin was 4 for 12. Did make 3 threes, but on the other side, for SMU, 14 points each from Shake Milton and Jerry Foster to go 41% from the field, and then SMU was able to take care of it. Listen, SMU is a good basketball team, but yeah, it comes down to making free throws. UCF's got to make free throws. They make their free throws, they win the game. Plain and simple in this one. I thought that this was a winnable game. And, given that they still played without B.J. Taylor, who's not back yet, who's hopefully coming back very soon. Good sign or bad sign? What are you thinking?
I first of all, I think the hope is, I think that B.J. might be back for the Memphis game, the home opener on Wednesday. So that could be some positive news. Look, if they can beat East Carolina on the road on Sunday and just get a split of these 2 road games, I think that's a success. I do have questions about the 3-point shooting with UCF, which is one of the things I hope to talk to Matt Williams about if I get a chance to talk to him at the Heat Magic game on Saturday. It's one of the things I want to address, and how much Can the guys improve from the shooting? You mentioned the free throw shooting. That's been an issue all year as well. So if you got issues shooting the three and free throw shooting, that's definitely alarming, because you're going to be in a lot of close games in this league. And that could be the difference between finishing in the top half of the league, top 3, top 4, being in maybe an NCAA tournament team, and maybe finishing in the middle of the pack and not being an NCAA tournament team. So those are definitely concerns that comes with youth. But the big question will be, can BJ Taylor maybe offset some of that? Does he give some other guys some better looks by him being on the court? And, defensively, I think they're going to be fine. And it was interesting listening to Fran Fraschilla and Seth Greenberg talking very highly about this team, and they felt that if BJ was there, they would have had a shot. Look, SMU's now won 32 at home in a row. SMU is going to be, in my opinion, is right there with Wichita State and Cincinnati. I think those are the 3 best teams in the league. And it's tough to win at SMU. So no shame there, but they're going to have to find some more offense. Got to get by East Carolina, and then hopefully get BJ back. And, the key is to be clicking in the second half of this conference, because, as you know, come postseason, it's how you finish in late February and March is what the committee will look at more than what you're doing right now. You don't want to dig yourself a hole, but tread water, and I think the guys will be fine. So hopefully if they beat East Carolina, they would have accomplished what I thought they needed to do, which is get a split on these 2 road games.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit worried, like we said, with some of those things. But, I still feel like this team is like an incomplete grade without BJ. I mean, it just, does he take some of that pressure off some of those guys that maybe they're feeling, like Deion Griffin, some of that scoring load, and Cesar De Jesus, and to a certain extent AJ Davis too. I think that's part of the other thing. What's Taco Fall, I think he didn't really have a very good game here. 3 for 4, but only 6 points.
No, and he needs to get better.
Yeah, they did a good job of bottling him up, I thought, right?
Yeah, but he's got to be more aggressive too, and maybe again when BJ comes back, BJ can feed him the ball and put him in positions to succeed. But yeah, he's got to be more active he's a presence in there. He's got to do more. I mean, that's part of it, when you're, one of the, top players in the league. So right. From an offensive standpoint, so we'll see, like I said, it's early. Let's see what happens. They're going to be at East Carolina, tricky game. East Carolina's already fired their coach, Jeff Lebo. But they're at home. You just got to find a way, get a win there, and come home and play Memphis, and hopefully get BJ back by then and start that transition. I do think BJ will help this team a lot, and I think will help the other guys kind of get better. So hopefully that's the key. I mean, until he gets back, that's really, we're just trying to tread water, which they've done. Yeah.
So in the overall scheme of things for men's basketball, like we said, now we're in conference play. It's time to go. And when they return home, the next time we see them at home, the home conference opener will be Wednesday, January 3rd, and that will be against Memphis, and that will be on ESPN3. And the sort of that double dip at home, Sunday, January 7th at noon against Temple at home. So keep an eye on UCFnights.com for that. And also, by the way, that Memphis game, 7 p.m. Wednesday. So when you get back from the Peach Bowl, keep an eye out for that. All right, let's finish up here. We talked about what we're doing coming up. Be sure to, for the Peach Bowl weekend coming up, make sure you stick with blackandgoldbanneret.com for all the latest. Brian Murphy talked about all the stuff he's going to have coming up there. We're also going to have a live blog of the game on blackandgoldbanneret.com with Brian, as well as myself and Eric chiming in occasionally. I will be heading up there New Year's Eve. If you're listening, I hope to see you. I'll be at that alumni tailgate thing, by the way, so at 9 a.m. up until probably about 11, and then my son and I are heading over to the game. So if you will be there too, and you happen to run it, don't be afraid to say hi, and tell us what we're doing that you like. Tell us what we're doing that you don't like, and let me know, because like I said, we'll be. We're open to anything that we can get. As we've expanded our coverage tremendously this year, so it's something that we look forward to. Is your feedback, and you'd be shocked at how little of it we get. So the more we can get, the better. So Elo, thanks once again for a great year with the podcast, and like I said, safe travels around town, and we'll be watching out for you, obviously at the Citrus Bowl too. So. Thanks again, brother. Be safe out there, and I'll be talking to you soon, all right?
Sounds good. Make sure you go to the website, folks. Got my stories, top 17 stories of the year.
We didn't talk about this. Oh, my God. I can't believe we didn't. You got the top 17 stories, which is doing great for us.
And we also coming out the top games of the year.
Yes.
UCF Athletic.
And that'll be coming out either tonight or tomorrow. As soon as I get the chance to edit it, as soon as you get the chance to edit it down and get it all set, that'll be coming out very soon. So keep an eye out on that as well. And Eric, thank you for that research too. And also another little fun thing we did. We took a look at the highest rated UCF football games on TV and put them all into a table for you. So if you take a look at Night Insight on our menu there and click on that, you'll be able to see that. And if you find any other resources that may actually add to that, don't be afraid to let us know about it too. So that's always fun to look at as well. So don't forget blackandgoldbanneret.com. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/blackandgoldbanneret. You can follow us at UCF_Banneret as well. Follow me at Jeff_Sharon. Follow Eric at
Eric Lopez Elo.
And follow Brian at Spokes_Murphy and our photographer Derek Warden at _DS Warden on Twitter. And don't forget to tell your friends to subscribe, rate, share, and comment on our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. So, once again, thanks to our guest. Thanks to Brian for coming on earlier. Thanks also to Jimmy Skiles, the Associate Athletic Director for Fan Development at UCF. Make sure you say hi to him at the Peach Bowl if you run into him, because of he and the hard work that he and his staff have been doing all throughout this week and all throughout the season as well. So, for Eric Lopez, I am Jeff Sharon. Thank you so much for listening. This has been the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. We will see you in Atlanta for the 2018 Chick-fil-a Peach Bowl between Auburn and UCF. Take care. Safe travels if you're heading up to Atlanta. Go Knights and charge on.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.